Good evening, everyone. I'm Samina Kausar, CEO for Ethica Work Life. We are now called My Swiss Solutions. I, along with our team, would like to extend a very warm welcome to you all. Today, as part of our series of workshops under health and nutrition, we are going to conduct a very special session on emotional intelligence. Now, why emotional intelligence? Well, let me tell you that emotional intelligence is emerging as one of the most important factors today for success in both workplaces and in our personal life. In fact, experts now believe that leadership success depends on EI more than the IQ. Emotional intelligence also plays an important role in building excellent mental fitness and resilience. And to do this interesting session today, I have with me Mr. Suresh Datla. Suresh has the experience of being the HR head for Tupperware India operations and for handling worldwide HR projects for them. He has traveled extensively across the world and studied multiple cultures and training practices. He has been a guest speaker at seminars for various universities and has conducted training for international audiences also. His articles on various HR and management topics have been well received and published in HR journals as well. So, without any further ado, let me invite Suresh. Suresh is also advisor with us. And Suresh has a passion for this subject and he has well researched it as well. So, I'm sure we are in safe hands. So, let me invite Suresh. Suresh, please come in and take it over.
Thank you, Samina. Thank you so much. It's a very generous introduction, I would say. Let me just share my screen. So, good afternoon once again. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing?
All good.
Hello.
All good. Great. Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
As Suresh is getting ready, I'll also like to tell you that we'll have our last 10 minutes open for Q&A. If we have any questions, we can use that. And while the session is going on, if you have any questions for us or Suresh, please use the chat board and let us know what you'd like to discuss. Or you can also feel free to unmute yourself and discuss. Thank you. Suresh, please go ahead.
Thanks, Samina, once again, and thanks, everyone. Very good afternoon and very warm welcome to the session once again. Okay, I think all of us are committed to be together for the next 1 hour, right? So let's keep this session as much fun and as much learning as possible. Okay, let's keep it very informal. Let's keep it friendly, and everyone is free to talk. Open your mic, unmute yourself, and share your opinions. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, or you can type it in the chat window. Okay. And I also request, please put your cameras on as much as possible. In these pandemic times, we only see the 2-3 faces at home. So this is also an opportunity to see a lot more people. So why not use that opportunity? So
I completely agree, Suresh, but I'm excusing myself because I have a connectivity issue. But I would really request everybody to turn on videos because it gives a feeling of being connected, and there'll be a lot of the whole experience of sharing will get enhanced.
So to the extent possible, please keep your cameras on. And like I said, please feel free to talk. Please add humor to the workshop. Let's start. So before we go into the actual topic, okay, I would suggest that all of us have a little bit of a tour. Let's have a tour to Jim Corbett National Park. How many of you have been to Jim Corbett National Park? Please type in the chat or please talk. Has anyone here been to the Jim Corbett National Park in the past? So, Jim Corbett National Park is a reserve forest kind of an area. It is located in Uttarakhand and it's famous for it's known as a sanctuary for tigers. Okay, so in these lockdown times, though we cannot go there physically, let's at least imagine to be going there and let's go through that journey for a few minutes. So imagine that we are or you are going to Jim Corbett National Park. Now, why would anyone go to Jim Corbett National Park?
To see tigers, lion, tigers.
Tigers. Okay. Any more? I think to see tigers is a good reason, but I think it's a little bit outdated. The trend has changed a little bit now. Why do people go to exotic places now?
Because they were stuck for a long time.
Like away, I said, let's have fun. Don't be very serious in giving answers. Use fun answers. Huh?
Away from city life, hectic schedule.
Okay.
Tigers
Try
might
to
have
be a little more
for
fun.
long time, right?
Be a little more humorous.
Tigers
To
might have
feel
loved
at home.
people for
To
long
feel at
time.
home. Okay. Oxygen. Okay, that's a good answer. That's a nice answer. Yeah. I think people go to exotic places, want to see the place, and more importantly, click some great photographs and selfies and post them on social media. Tigers have not seen men for a long time. They have not seen women and men also. Okay. Anyways, so I think you are a person who is very particular about posting the best selfies on your WhatsApp status, your Instagram posts, etc. So you went to Jim Corbett with an intention to get a sensational selfie with a tiger. Okay. Now imagine you are at the gate of the Jim Corbett. You are about to embark into a vehicle with a few more people. And as you were about to get into the vehicle, the ranger, the person who's the guide, he said that no, he mentioned to you that of late, one of the tigers in the park, in the national park, has fallen in love with human beings. What would that mean? Human beings. Okay, human beings or human meat? That's a smart question. Yeah, the tiger has fallen in love with human beings for lunch purposes. Okay, now as the person said this, what would be your reaction? What would come to your mind immediately?
Eat. He want to eat.
Ashok, what would happen? Danger.
Danger, right? Eat. He will eat.
Danger. Sorry?
He's love to eat the man's like human beings.
Okay. So danger. Immediately the thing that comes to us is to any ordinary person is fear. But you are not an ordinary person. Okay. You are determined to get a sensational selfie. You're not giving up so easily. In fact, you thought that this is an opportunity that you can get double the thrill. Getting a selfie with a tiger is fun. Getting a selfie with a man-eating tiger is double fun. Okay, you thought it's much more exciting. So your determination has doubled. You sat in the vehicle and now imagine the vehicle going through the forest. The bumpy roads, people, you chit-chatting, and you are much more determined. So you're scanning through the jungle, the trees and the bushes with much more attention than even the ranger. And anyone who has gone to spot a tiger, the common experience is that you will never spot a tiger. Because tigers are very shy animals. Okay, they like to stay away from human beings. So they keep away. Now, lunchtime ho gaya. You didn't spot a tiger. Now your frustration levels are going up. Okay, really imagine yourself to be in that situation. By lunchtime, there was some animal that was spotted and the vehicle stopped. People got down. This animal is a little, insignificant animal. It's a less harmless animal. You're not interested in such things. Now people are watching it. You wanted to be a little bit more explorative. So you came out, you ventured into on the opposite side and you were kind of scanning for the tiger. And then suddenly there's some sound from the behind the bushes and there emerged a tiger. Now you and the tiger are face to face. Okay, that is the moment of truth now. You immediately realize that this is the tiger that loves human beings. Now, how did you realize that? Because the expression on the tiger's eyes is the same expression that you have when you see your favorite food in the plate. Okay. So now what happens? What would happen to you immediately? What is your immediate reaction? Any answers? Keshav?
Yeah, would definitely say hi.
Definitely fear.
No, no, I was going to say, I will just say hi.
Not able to understand clearly, Keshav. Sorry.
Sorry. Am I audible clearly?
Yeah, now it's better.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, the first expression I would have just to say hi.
Oh, you'll say hi. So you are not certified, you are a super certified selfie lover.
I don't know. I'm just at that level right now.
You are a postgraduate. Okay. What else? What else would be the reactions?
Like, getting back to the car. That's all.
Okay, but would the tiger keep quiet? You realize that this is the tiger. It's just a few meters away. It's staring at you. You're staring at the tiger, at him.
Right.
You
I
are
mean,
face to face, eye contact, and the distance is a few meters.
Maybe tiger is looking for hug.
Huh? What?
Tiger might be looking for hug. As you said that she is a lover of human beings, right?
Yeah. So I think how much ever you love selfies and how much ever determination you have, the immediate reaction would be fear. And particularly when you know that it's a man-eating tiger and you're alone. And your people are, say, let's assume a 50 meters or 100 meters away, the rest of the people. Isn't it?
right.
There will be a vibration that will go through your body even before you realize it. Right?
Yeah, that's correct actually.
Yeah.
People go into shock or like that is the last thing. Otherwise, yeah, the fear is one thing. Like they can be paralyzed by fear.
Yeah. And then what happens? Now fear is, you're full of fear. Now what happens?
I think we can't even shout.
Fight or flight. Okay. Okay. Again, ordinary human beings would choose flight rather than fight with a tiger. Right? Okay, the body is stoned. Good, good. Yeah. I think generally what happens is there are three things that can happen. One, you may freeze out of fear. Two, the less probable option is to fight. Okay, normal mortal human beings would not do that. And the best of the options, according to me, is to run away. Okay, now let us assume you started running. Now, what is your escape plan? What would go on in your mind? After the fear has taken, what would go on in your mind? You decided to escape. Then what happens? Run away from tiger. Okay, while running, what would you do?
Basically, I will just try to run like zigzag.
Try to run zigzag.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Max
What else
confusion.
would others do? Are all the others frozen or stoned?
Probably I'll stop imagine.
Will stop.
As
Run
you said,
towards the vehicle.
The best.
Yeah. As you said that we need to imagine that we are facing the tiger, right? I'll stop imagining the tiger.
You'll stop imagining. Okay. Okay. So run towards the vehicle, other humans. So while running, what happens is you will be plotting which is the best escape route. What you should do in order to maximize your survival chances, isn't it? You would be considering, is it safe to climb a tree that is the nearest to you? You would be imagining if you should run on the opposite direction, you should be running in the same direction as the vehicle, or you should be shouting for help. These are all the images, things that you'll evaluate. And you'll choose an option which you think maximizes your survival chances. Isn't it? Okay. So there we take a pause and let's go to our topic. What is emotional intelligence? In order to understand emotional intelligence, we should understand emotions first, right? What are emotions? Emotions are, illogical things. They don't happen. We don't reason about emotions. They just happen to us. Emotions are instinctive or intuitive feelings which are not reasoning. Reasoning is about thinking. So emotions are not about thinking. You just feel the emotions. They are there by default. That's number one. Number two is their physiological responses. Can you imagine any emotion, okay, which doesn't affect your body? If you are full of fear, what happens is your body pumps energy into your legs. so that you can run fast, you can escape fast. If you are angry, the body activates the hands and the legs much more than usual, so that you can fight. So all emotions are physiological responses. Okay? See, I'm not able to read the chart again. So if there's something, please, I would request that you read it. You mention it, you ask it. And when we see a person, we'll be able to say whether that person is angry, is peaceful, is afraid, whatever it is. Okay? Is it not? That's because emotions are physical responses. They are a mix of physical as well as brain circuitry emotions. And what is intelligence? Intelligence is when we were trying to, the immediate response that we had when we saw the tiger is fear, and then we applied intelligence to escape. What is intelligence? Intelligence is identifying the data points, identifying the options that we have in the first level, then analyzing those options in our mind, and then choosing the best option, or correlate 2-3 options and bring out a much better option, a combination of options. Someone said running zigzag. Okay, running zigzag may be a good option, I don't know. If the tiger also runs zigzag, then it's a good option. But if the tiger runs in a straight line, then it's a poor option. Okay, so anyway, intelligence is about identifying data points, analyzing them, and being able to draw meaningful inferences. Agree? And now, what is emotional intelligence? Being intelligent with emotions. That's an obvious, a dumb definition, I would say. But ability to notice emotions, like we said, what is intelligence? Intelligence is identifying data. Emotional intelligence is identifying emotions, and then making sense of those observations of what's going on in our mind, what's going on in the opposite person's mind, and apply that information for progress. Apply, getting some conclusion out of that observation about emotions, about the understanding about emotions, and then applying it for some meaningful purpose. That is emotional intelligence. Agreed? Any questions here? Okay, now let's understand emotions in depth. Okay, now why do we have emotions? Are emotions necessary? Because when we see an emotional person, we say, oh, this guy is emotional, he's being emotional. We say it with less regard for that person. So are emotions necessary? Should we have emotions at all? Why are they useful?
Of course, I think to better connect to anyone,
Sorry, it better connects to
anyone, unless and until you have emotions, you cannot connect to anyone.
okay.
Better to communicate, understand the picture,
Okay.
understand the one-on-one.
Okay. What else? See, emotions, the fundamental purpose of having emotions is survival. For example, when we saw the tiger, okay, if we did not have fear, what would have happened? It is fear that triggered the thoughts that we should run, and then we are making up an escape plan, right? The first thing that has come is fear, and that has driven us to the escape. So the first and very fundamental purpose is survival. We love our kids. Why? Because nature works in a default manner where we love the genes that we pass on, and the continuation of species happens when we love our kids, take care of them, bring them up, and then so on and so forth. Similarly, emotions are also required, because without emotions, life is very bland, tasteless. What is our life? If you have to summarize in 2 sentences, our life is a constant effort to maximize positive emotions, the pleasurable emotions, and minimize painful emotions, isn't it? Anything and everything that we do, the ultimate purpose for which we do is to maximize the pleasurable emotions and minimize the painful emotions, right? So emotions are necessary for survival, and without emotions, life is tasteless. There's no point in living. So that is the reason emotions are necessary. Now, are all emotions good? What are good emotions? What are bad emotions? Any answers here?
No, how we respond may be bad. By emotions
Okay.
themselves, we cannot categorize good or bad. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. See, many times what we think is that envy, jealousy, hatred, we think these are bad emotions. And we think love, joy, these are good emotions. But there are no good and bad emotions. The reaction that we choose as a result of an emotion can be good or bad. But an emotion in itself is not good or bad. None of us have chosen to have these emotions within us, right? These emotions have been bestowed upon us from nature. These are like the apps that come in a preloaded manner when we buy a mobile phone, isn't it? We did not choose. We did not learn these emotions. They were already there. For example, I'll just illustrate this with a couple of examples. Now, at some point, there was a tennis player called Steffi Graf. Okay, she was the number one tennis player in the world. She was doing so very well. She had a good fan following. And after a few years, a new tennis player came. Her name was Monica Seles. She was very talented and much younger. So she started playing really very well. And she occupied the number one place very quickly. She was able to defeat Steffi Graf. Now, Steffi Graf, one of the fans of Steffi Graf could not take this. He loved Steffi Graf and admired her so much that he could not bear this. He wanted to see Steffi Graf in the number one position. So what he did is, the next time when there was a match happening, when Monica Seles was playing a match with someone, he stabbed her with a knife in her back. She had to undergo a surgery, and later on she returned to the playing, but she could never play the way she was playing earlier. Now, this guy did this out of love for Steffi Graf. He did not hate Monica Seles. He wanted to see the person whom he admires on top. So love is the emotion, but the outcome is really, very bad, right? Similarly, there can be emotions which we categorize as bad. For example, envy. I'll give an imaginary example here. Let's assume me and my friend, we're classmates. We pass out of college. We get selected in the campus for in a company. We both join the same company. 3 years down the line, I find my friend to be doing much better in the career. He's grown faster than me. Now what happens? It is very natural that I would feel envy. Okay? But I choose to not act based on that envy. Envy is an energy. It triggers some energy in us. Any emotion triggers some energy. Emotions are energy forms actually. So what happens is, I put in efforts, I analyze my strengths and weaknesses, I learn new things, and now I work upon myself and my skill set, and I start growing faster than him. I start growing at a much faster pace than I was doing so far. But this was driven by envy. Is envy a wrong emotion? Is it a bad emotion? No. So it's a myth to think that there are good and bad emotions. The reason why I emphasize this so much on this is because many times when we have these emotions of envy, jealousy, etc., we deny. We do not agree. We think that I'm such a nice person. How can I have envy? And we do not deal with it. We try to escape from that emotion, or we try to deny from that emotion. We deny that emotion. And we are struggling with it. Rather, we should understand the emotion and then deal with it in a positive way. We have the choice. We do not have the choice of selecting an emotion, but we have the choice of choosing our action as a result of the emotion. And then emotions are, in a way, nature's methods of communicating to us. Fear is nature's method of communicating to us to escape from danger. Every emotion has its own purpose. No emotion exists within us without a purpose. So we have to understand that communication, acknowledge the communication, and then deal with it, rather than denying it or surrendering to it. Any questions here? The fear that we get as when we see the tiger or when we see a snake or any other danger is nature's communication. Nature is telling us to move away from the danger so that we survive. And then
But here, I mean, sorry to interrupt.
Please,
But
please.
yeah, this is something I feel like the scenarios, it's like your judgment should not be clouded, right? I mean,
Yes.
like how to understand, okay, what is the way to survive? Perhaps sometimes we have to go through it. Like, facing the tiger with strength is
Yes.
something like, we could have done. But yeah, that's about like how we understand the survival. Sometimes, we have the situations in front of us. Some people will advise that, okay, just avoid it or run away, like, be useless,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
any of the, rebel kind of people, right, who think we have to go through it, they advise to do so. So in
Yes.
such matters, I know, like, that's what I think the emotional intelligence is like, taking the emotions in control, understand them, accept them, and what I call just utilize them basically as per the ethics. And so, like, how do we just calculate and choose between the two, face the situation with strength or the other way?
Yeah. I think if we acknowledge the emotion first, okay, and then analyze the situation, and then evaluate the risks involved, and then based on the evaluation of your risks and your own evaluation of your ability to handle that risk, then you would choose what you want. If someone has got the skill, the capability to overpower the tiger, maybe that person can still choose to face the tiger. Okay, but the point that I was coming from is there are some natural threats. A snake, for instance, we are naturally wired to move away from a snake when we see it suddenly. These are natural reflex actions that we have. Now, there may be learned capabilities. We may have learned how to deal with a snake. There are people who go and catch a snake, right? Some people run away from it, some people move towards it. So they are going because they have evaluated the risks, they have the practice, or they know that they are going to be okay. So what I'm trying to say is to understand, embrace the emotion, analyze the risks after having understood it, and then you choose whatever you think is appropriate for you, for your skill set, for your abilities. And particularly when there are physical threats, the natural reaction is to move away. When there are psychological challenges, people can still prepare for the challenges, plot, make a plan, and then handle it.
I do agree actually, but yeah, I think we are on the same page.
Yeah,
on this
sure,
one.
sure. Thank you. And a few other facts about emotions are contagious. In fact, emotions are more contagious than COVID, I would say. Okay. Because when we are passing by, even if a stranger gives a very nice smile to us, we also smile back, right? It just gives us a moment, at least a moment of pleasant feeling. And if someone is, in a foul mood and abuses you, even whether you know that person or not, your mood is going to get spoiled. For that matter, sometimes even when we hear that some stranger somewhere is suffering, when we read it in the news or when we hear from somewhere, we still feel bad. We may not have met that person, we may not have had anything to do with that person or that incident, but we still feel bad. So emotions have a ripple effect and they're contagious. So knowingly or unknowingly, the vibes that we call are actually the emotions that we are passing in. And then emotions and thoughts. Which one comes first? Emotions come first or thoughts come first?
Emotion.
Emotions come first. Because when we evolved as human beings, our brain has also developed in such a way that the information passes through the emotional part of the brain first. That is the emotional part of the brain developed much before the other part of the brain, the intelligent part of the brain got developed. So emotions are the natural and immediate reactions. And so many times what also happens is when we meet someone or when we face something, we actually make an opinion first based on the emotion, and then we try to justify. Many cases, that's what happens. So when we are going through these things and when we are making decisions based on such things, we need to be mindful of this fact. Okay. And reason or emotion, which one do we prefer? I think a combination of both, isn't it? We would first acknowledge the emotion, we are aware of it, then we apply logic, and then we handle the situation. That is wiseness. If you are giving an emotional reaction, we may not be practical sometimes. If you are only using the rational brain without being, acknowledging the emotion, then we may be too materialistic, and we may find it difficult to connect with.
But Suresh, is there a way that one can, take care of both of these things in a balanced way? Because most of the times one finds oneself into either an emotional dilemma or a rational dilemma. So the choosing between these two becomes really tough. So how to handle that situation?
Sure. I think as we move along, I'll try to answer this question. If it isn't answered by the end, let's come back to this question, okay?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
the next, yeah. Now, if emotional intelligence, if we dissect emotional intelligence, there are 4 parts to it. The first one is self-awareness. The second part is self-management. Once you are aware of what's happening within you, then comes the part of self-management, and then empathy. Empathy is about understanding others the way we understand ourselves. And then comes social skills or relationship management. Both are more or less the same. So let's inspect or let's study all the four aspects to gain a in-depth understanding of what they are. So what is self-awareness? Self-awareness is the ability to first notice the emotions that we are going through and acknowledge them. This picture illustrates that well. And then we also observe the thoughts that we are getting around those emotions. Now, for example, if we hate someone, we're angry with someone, something has happened, we may want to hit that person. Okay? If you are becoming mindful of these emotions and the thoughts that are getting arisen as a result of emotions, then we are self-aware. I'll just give a small example here. I'll narrate a small story. So once there was a guru who was training a group of warriors. He was teaching them how to use the sword fighting, he was training them. So by the end of the session, there was some discussion that was happening around various aspects of life. So one of the warriors stood up and he said, the topic of hell and heaven came up. So he told the guru, there's nothing called hell and heaven. I'm challenging you to demonstrate hell and heaven. So the guru immediately said, very aggressively, you're such a bloody useless guy. Teaching you sword fighting itself is such a difficult and useless thing to me. Now you have these useless questions. The warrior got so offended because there was a lot of people around him. So he could not take it. He immediately became aggressive. He drew the sword and he took a very aggressive stance against the guru with the sword. Then the guru said, this is hell. Very calmly, he said, this is hell. So the warrior immediately realized what he has done, what he has undergone, his anger and what he has done as a result of that. Okay, and he felt very sorry. He immediately took the sword, put it back, and in a very pleasant manner, he said, thank you for making me understand what is heaven. And then the guru said, this is heaven. So what happens is, when we have a particular emotion, particularly when we are experiencing negative emotions, if we are aware of the negative emotion, if we realize and acknowledge it, that itself helps us to mitigate that problem, mitigate it. Because our natural tendency is towards the pleasure emotions, isn't it? So self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. And self-awareness is actually, I would say, job half done. If you have strong self-awareness, job is half done. But then we have to be very honest with our self-awareness. We have to be honest with ourselves in what is going through us, acknowledge it and go through it. Then comes the part of self-management. Now, using the awareness that is there to cultivate the best state of mind is self-management. Now, what is the best state of mind? Best state of mind is the state in which we are able to focus on our work productively. We are able to behave in the best possible manner. We are able to respond to others well. We are able to create positivity rather than negativity, isn't it? Now, how do we do self-management? Okay, we are aware of our emotions. Self-management is very difficult, right? So different people use different techniques here. Can some of you share your, the techniques that you use when you are in emotional situations to manage yourself, when you're very angry or when you're severely agitated? Anyone?
Count up to 10.
Count up to 10. Okay.
Go for a walk.
Go for a walk. Yeah.
Music.
Music. Some people just stay quiet. Some people go for a jog. Some just start watching TV. Right? So these are some of the techniques that are commonly used. Now, why we use these techniques? Because when we are in an emotional state, our decision making is clouded with emotions. We may not use logic well. And that leads to probably poor decision making. In some people who do not manage their emotions well, their emotional reaction itself is the decision that they make. That influences the decision so much, right? So there is something called window of tolerance. In order to manage ourselves, if we are able to understand our window of tolerance, it would help us very much. What is window of tolerance? Window of tolerance is that bandwidth. If we are within that bandwidth, we function excellently well. If we are below that bandwidth, we may withdraw, okay, we may freeze, and we may not react the way we should. We will stop participating. We'll show withdrawal symptoms. That is called hypoarousal. And if we are above that bandwidth, if we cross that bandwidth, then what happens is we may get angry. We will give emotional reactions rather than logical reactions. Okay, and we may do so, we may be in an agitated state of mind. Now, this window of tolerance, all of us have different windows of tolerance, and for different aspects, different people have different bandwidths. Someone who's very good while taking feedback, even critical feedback, may not have a good window of tolerance with one particular friend or a spouse or with a child or something like that. So we need to understand our window of tolerance and try to build or expand the window of tolerance so that we are always in our optimal state. Now, this is a action exercise, to understand window of tolerance. But I think we don't have enough time to go through this exercise. I'll share this attachment in the WhatsApp group where we, all of us are there. And the Happy Minds are there. You could go through this and you could understand your window of tolerance. Is it okay? It will help you to understand, your own window of tolerance and make plans to how you can manage yourself. This also is a solution to the question that you had asked. About how we manage our emotions. Though we know that we have emotions and all that, how do we manage it actually? So expanding our window of tolerance as much as we can is one of the solutions. Okay, so I'll share it there. So you could download it and use it. It's a good exercise. I hope we had enough time. And now then comes empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is just another version of self-awareness. Empathy builds on self-awareness. The way we understand ourselves, if we are able to understand others in the same manner, in the same parameters, then we are said to be empathetic. That's why wise people say our mind is the window to the world. If the more we understand ourselves, the more we understand the world, isn't it? So empathy is one of the most important competencies in the modern world. After artificial intelligence is going to take up a few jobs, artificial intelligence is never going to be able to build empathy. That's going to be a definite differentiator between human beings and the robots or the artificial intelligence. And in the current pandemic situation, empathy is such an important competence. We cannot highlight it enough. Now, how do we develop empathy? One, by studying ourselves, how do we react and what are the emotions that we go through? Because the emotions are universal. If we understand ourselves, we understand others also. And one of the things that is important about empathy is, unlike thoughts are expressed in words very well. But emotions are less expressed in words compared to thoughts. Okay? Emotions are more expressed or better expressed through physical cues. Remember we discussed that, emotions are physical reactions as well. They are physiological responses. So if we are able to study the physical cues of people, if we keep observing, if we even start today, over a period of time we gain expertise. What is happening in our body when we undergo various emotions? Like we discussed, when we are angry, our facial expressions are different, our body stance is different. When we are elated, when we are very happy, we stretch our body, okay? We expand. When we are afraid, we actually contract, right? We shrink. So if we are able to understand these subtle differences, we will be very good at handling others. Agreed? Any questions here? Okay. And then comes social skills. Once we have empathy, okay, using empathy for positive outcomes is social skills. That is, when we understand other people, we understand their emotional states, we understand what triggers a particular emotion in a particular person, their emotional tendencies and patterns, then we can use this information and knowledge effectively to build a very healthy relationship with that person. And we can use this knowledge to build effective teams also. Okay. Here is a joke, a lady went to a library saying that, please give me books on changing everyone except myself. What is this lady, what is this person, deficient in? Can anyone answer?
Empathy.
Empathy, okay. What else? I think she also lacks self-awareness, isn't it?
Right, not ready to understand herself.
Not ready to understand herself first. She's thinking that everyone else has to change. So, and I'll just give a small example here about social skills. This is an incident that happened in an IT company, really. There was a project manager and his project team. They were making a presentation about a particular project to their vice president. And now the project manager has completed his presentation. He was waiting for the reaction of the vice president. The vice president asked this person, when did you complete your college? When did you pass out? The guy said about 9 years ago. Then the vice president said, you passed out 9 years ago and you make a presentation like this. Okay, how do you think I'll approve this? Do you think I'm blind? Project manager felt so insulted in front of his team, but he didn't have the courage to confront the manager, vice president. He just sat there silently, feeling so insulted. The team also became very defensive. They started defending themselves, the role that they played in the project. The vice president, the meeting was concluded, the vice president walked off. Project manager could not sleep properly. He could not take it. After 1 week, he went to the vice president. He said, fine, sir, I would like to quit. But before quitting, I would like to understand what was your motivation? What was your motive behind insulting me on that day? Like, is your motive insulting me itself, or is there any other motive? The vice president got shocked. Okay, the vice president, thinks that like this project manager. In fact, he thought that the presentation was decent, but there are only a few changes that need to be made in order for that presentation to pass. But he communicated that intention like this. A very poor communication, isn't it? So he was shocked. Then he apologized to the team and to the project manager, and he said things right. But for that 1 week, things were hell. And many managers, many leaders do this mistake. They don't know the impact of their words. They don't know the emotional impact of their actions on their team members. They create fear, they create insecurity without knowing these things, and they create a lot of stress. Now, stress, a little bit of stress motivates, but a lot of stress, it is said that stress makes someone stupid. Stress makes people stupid, they say. A lot of stress doesn't help us to think in our optimal level. So this is where, social skills come into the picture. And this is where we can use empathy to build healthy relationships, to bring people together, put them as a team. Okay. And even in parenting, empathy and, relationship management play a big role. In romantic relationships, they play a big role. And they have an application in almost every walk of life, actually. Now, what are the applications of emotional intelligence? One is building effective teams, managing people, parenting, self-motivation, decision-making, etc. It actually almost affects every walk of life. Okay. And from the social skills slide, I would like to tell you one more thing. There's an exercise called the ripple effect. Many times we don't realize how, I think someone is requested to mute themselves. Keshav? Hi, Keshav. Okay. So, our emotions and our emotional reactions have a ripple effect. So there's a small, action exercise which takes about a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. I'll share that material also in WhatsApp group. Okay, you could use that to understand how, the far-fetching, the impact of the emotional outbursts that we do. And then how the ripple effect impacts the people around us and affects back on us as well. So these are the applications of emotional intelligence. And now how do we develop emotional intelligence? What are the building blocks? One is to study ourselves and others without prejudice. When we say prejudice, we are talking here prejudice, people have, many times, people have prejudices against people of other religions, other cultures, other regions, etc. Those are hindrances on the path to acquiring emotional intelligence. Because when we have a prejudice, it's like we are looking through a colored glass. We are looking at the people through a colored glass. And we think the color is the reality. Actually, the color is of the glass. And then we fail to understand things accurately in a realistic manner. And then embrace emotions non-judgmentally. Like we discussed earlier, there are no good and bad emotions from a moral perspective. There are emotions which cause pain, there are emotions which cause pleasure. But there are no morally good or right, wrong, bad emotions. So whatever is our feeling, embrace it, then handle it. This is a very important aspect. And then another important thing is emotional vocabulary. See, what happens is when we go through emotions, they pass through us in a very hazy manner. Many times we are not able to name what is happening. But if we are able to develop the emotional vocabulary and appropriately name what is happening in our mind, then it gives clarity to our conscious. And once the clarity has come at a conscious level, we can handle it much better. Okay. Now there's something called Plutchik's wheel of emotion here. This is a very nice wheel. Okay, a very nice innovation by a person called Plutchik. This I have taken from a website called 6seconds.org. 6 is numerical 6. I encourage everyone to go to that website and read, and this is a very interactive exercise there. If you put your cursor on any of these words, it explains to you about that word, the relation with other things, and our physical cues when we experience that, and even the intensity of that emotion. For example, here if you see apprehension, fear, terror. Apprehension is the least intense emotion on that spectrum. The next intense experience is fear, and an extremely intense experience is terror. These three things go hand in hand. So I would, during your free time, I would encourage you to visit this website. Anyway, I'll post the URL also and understand this very further. Sorry?
URL, please.
6 numerical 6 and seconds. It is called 6 seconds because, naturally when we have a particular emotion, the lifespan of that emotion is 6 seconds. Unless the threat persists. Okay, we experience emotions longer than that because consciously or subconsciously we are entertaining that emotion. So from that perspective, the name of the website is given as 6 seconds. So when we develop emotional vocabulary, what also happens is when we are able to name the emotion, we bring self-awareness to that emotion, we develop better self-awareness. And as soon as self-awareness happens, what happens is, for example, when we are aware that I'm being very angry, that itself subsides the anger to a certain extent. Okay. But the magic with self-awareness is when we realize that we are happy, it doesn't subside happiness. Our happiness continues. So self-awareness promotes positive emotions and subsides the negative emotions. Okay. So, for people who are very methodical and who got good amount of patience, recording the emotional journey is an excellent tool. In a week, if every day if you are able to write what was your emotional experiences on that day, and at the end of the week or end of the month, if you review it, you will understand yourself much more in depth. You will know your patterns. You will get a better hold of yourself.
By end of the year, we can print the book.
Yeah, you can write your biography of emotions. Okay. And then meditation also, of course. Meditation expands the window of tolerance. Okay. Now, emotional intelligence and mental fitness. I did not talk much about mental fitness because mental fitness, is, everything that we spoke about, the underlying concept is mental fitness as well. If we are very emotionally intelligent, what happens is we are spotting our emotions, the depression, etc., from a distance, even before it comes. So we will naturally take actions to prevent that from happening. And mental health issues are more common than we imagine. Before the pandemic happened, when WHO, World Health Organization, made a study, they realized that about 10.7% of human beings undergo mental health issues at some point or the other. Not every case needs clinical intervention, but 10.7. Now, after the pandemic, it would have been much more, isn't it? So, statistically speaking, if we have 30 people here, probably with 3 of us are suffering from at least a mild, issue. But we get confused with mental, issues with personality factors. When someone is behaving in a particular pattern, we think that's a personality factor. When it is mild, we don't attribute it to some sort of disturbance at an emotional health level. And emotional intelligence builds prevention capability. We discussed that. It increases resilience. Even if we have an issue, emotional intelligence helps us to bounce back from that issue very fast. So it contributes to peak mental fitness. So that's all we have today. Thanks for your patience. Okay, any questions?
Yes, Suresh. Like you said, you'll come back to my question about maintaining the balance between these two aspects of being over emotional or being over rational.
Being over emotional or being over rational?
Like, how do you find a perfect balance between these two? Because some it's like mostly once either you are in a state of mind where you think and react being an emotional person, or you can think or react in only a rational person. So, like
Yes.
judging both the aspects are very difficult. So,
Very
is
difficult.
there a way that you can find it in a balanced way?
Yeah. I think, window of tolerance is a concept that helps in this aspect very much. Window of tolerance is a situation where we are at our optimal level. We are at our optimal level from an emotional as well as logical perspective. Why? Because if we are emotionally completely, unrelated, we do not have the motivation to work. Similarly, if we are completely emotional, we don't have the logic to work or solve problems.
Right.
Right. So, if we make a study of ourselves on which situations we are getting emotionally withdrawn, if we can study our cues, we get emotionally withdrawn, we become numb. When each of us has our own unique patterns. So if we make a study and analyze which situations are causing numbness in us or withdrawal in us, and which situations are causing hyper arousal in us, then we can work on mitigating those situations and expand our window of tolerance. And as long as we are in that bandwidth of window of tolerance, we are emotionally balanced as well as logically balanced. That is the right situation to be in. That comes with practice. That comes with studying ourselves and with practice. So, okay, what I would request is please join. I saw that you wanted to join the WhatsApp group.
Yes,
Please,
I've already added.
yeah, please read the window of tolerance exercise, and then you could post your questions there, or you could always call us. If that doesn't help you, we will find a way to help. We can have further discussion. Even we can even exchange our opinions and build further on this discussion. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Suresh.
Thank you. Thanks, Richa. Thanks for asking the question.
Suresh, can you explain me what mental fitness is? I didn't understand that.
What is mental fitness?
Yes.
See, mental fitness is, what is physical fitness? Physical fitness is our body is in the best state of, physical state where we are agile, we are healthy, and even if there is a problem, even if there is a sickness, the ability to bounce back exists. Our immunity levels are really. Similarly, mental fitness is when we are finding the joy in life. When in the morning we wake up, okay, we are looking forward for the day.
Yes.
We are looking forward for challenges. And through the day, when there are challenges that are coming up, emotional challenges, we are able to handle them well without losing our balance.
Okay.
We have good control on our emotions and on our thoughts. That is mental fitness.
Okay.
If we are feeling that state of mind in us, we are mentally, super fit.
Okay.
Many times we are in a state where we are not so enthusiastic, but we don't sense any problem. We're in a kind of neutral state. That is similar to physical fitness on a scale of 1 to 10. If you are physically in that state, you would rate yourself at 6 or 7, right? So the same holds good to mental fitness also.
Okay.
If you're not in a joyous state, then you're not at the peak mental fitness.
Okay.
Because that's our natural state.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you also for asking the questions.
Hi, Suresh. I have got one more, just a clarification.
Sure.
In this, whatever is presented, Aristotle, it
Yeah.
says that we can get angry, but we should get angry at the right person, right degree, and the right time, and right purpose. That's what it means, right?
Yes, yes. Yes. Yes, that's what we discussed. We do have all the emotions.
Correct, absolutely.
This, if there was no envy in us, we never experienced envy, we would not know what is envy actually.
Correct, absolutely.
Because that's not a physical thing that we saw, right?
Correct, correct.
All of us experienced envy, jealousy, etc. at various stages of life.
Correct.
So similarly, anger is something that all of us experience.
Absolutely.
Now, how well we are able to handle it is what matters actually.
Correct.
Thanks for bringing that up. Thank you. So thanks for joining here. So we're trying to bring up sessions like this. Just want to know your feedback. Do I have your permission to ask you feedback are these sessions helpful? How can we improve? What do you like and what are the things that you need?
So Suresh, I mean, what I'm looking for as well. I mean, this is what can be an introduction to the emotional intelligence, like what I understood.
Yeah.
Like what's happening, what's the big picture, right? Secondly, what I was looking for, like how to keep a tag, right? When we are saying we should be in control of emotions, right?
Yeah.
Express them within a suitable magnitude and etc., right? So how to keep a tag, or let's say keep a lid on the emotions as required. So that is something I was looking for, like how we can control exactly in what kind of situations. Usually, as per self analysis, I can say, I'm not boasting, I have been a patient person. Like I've been a good patience, having a good patience throughout my life. And uh, after, I don't know, possibly suffering from COVID, I just recovered. So I do feel like the irritating behavior or something, like I have a lesser threshold now than previous time. So how I can keep a tag, and obviously in that kind of nature, you promptly express. You don't have exact the control, or whatever we call, right? uh, just like a hold for a moment, like, yeah, like some people have said that, okay, they have they count from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
But that kind of what you say, the hold, that okay, this is the moment you have to start counting. If that thought doesn't comes to mind that very moment, to understand or see, your expression will just like come out like a vomit that very moment, uncontrolled one, the instant one. So how to control that, those measures I was looking for.
Okay. See, firstly, it comes with, like I said, building self-awareness is kind of solving the problem 50%. Okay. It is like, if there's a sickness, diagnosing it. If there's a problem, understanding the root cause of the problem. That's 50% of the solution, right? Similarly, in emotional intelligence, developing self-awareness is solving 50% of it, acquiring 50%. Okay, the remaining comes with practice. There are no shortcuts. Counting 1 to 10 is a very temporary measure. That's just to momentarily control your emotions. In fact, on the lighter side, I would say, why 1 to 10? Many times after 10 also you can't come out of it, right? You should count until you forget why you started counting in the first place. Right or wrong?
Yeah, that is also one way. And also, I mean, some people have a defense mechanism of just starting out a laugh, instead, in for that moment to understand the situation and come out with a smart way out. right? Like having the wise one.
Yes.
So that is something like I felt maybe there is something there's some theory on that, how to just make sure you are not very abruptive.
Can I add one line to this?
Yes.
Yeah, as because when you were telling me few minutes back that you count down all your emotions every day, and you analyze and you will understand what is your emotions all about. So that means one is we are creating a self awareness, and the other side we are also able to manage it. Self management also comes out of this, and which we creates awareness, like this is where is my emotions going, where I'm getting discomfort, or where I'm lagging, or whether it is a good mode, bad mode, how do I handle it. All these things comes with your daily finding out what is your emotions, and self management comes out of it. Can I add to this?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. The thing is, all this comes with practice. Number one, there are no shortcuts. It's not easy, but it comes with practice. It is a skill that is acquirable.
And one more thing just to add to Keshav's point, sometimes as he said, COVID, because of COVID, his emotions was very volatile, and he was going under stress, etc. Sometimes we need to find out what is our interest, where we rejoice ourselves, maybe books, music, or any other movies, or which will entirely take ourselves, where we are involved. Books, especially books, will help us.
Absolutely true. I just want to add a point here. We should understand our emotional triggers. All of us have a pattern of triggers which will lead to a certain emotion. If we understand the triggers and address those triggers, we will be able to avoid an emotion before it happens, particularly the negative ones. So when you are writing a journal or when you are analyzing yourself, we just should not analyze what happened after the emotion. We should analyze what led to that emotion. Why it happened? Why did I feel like that? What happened that triggered this particular feeling, this particular state of mind? If we study our triggers, then we will have a much better control, and then we can, build those triggers, frankly. For example, if watching a movie is a stress buster for me, if I understand that well, I will watch a movie whenever I feel stressed. Okay, if for someone it is gardening, they get a lot of pleasure out of gardening. Someone else it is cooking. So stress busters, these are triggers to solve the problem. Now, what are the triggers that are leading to that situation? If we are able to understand that and address that root cause, triggers are the root cause. If we are able to address that root cause, we'll be much better off. Not just study emotions, but also the triggers. Make sense?
Very true.
So thanks everyone. Thanks for participating. Okay, next Friday we come up with another workshop which is about our information consumption habits. Right from our birth, we keep consuming information. Okay, and we actually eat more information than food in our entire lifetime. Now, what are our patterns? How do we manage it to a better, to a progressive and a blissful life? So that is the topic. I hope to see all of you there. And thanks for your participation once again.
Suresh, one small question. If
Yeah,
you don't,
please. Yeah,
I
please.
missed out initial session. Sorry, I couldn't, join that time.
Okay.
Is there any way I get a depository of this session?
Frankly, we don't have access to the recording. But what we can do is, you joined at which point?
I almost joined at the end.
Okay. I'll connect with you personally, and we'll see what we can do. Okay.
Sure.
I'll connect with
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Suresh.
And thank you,
Bye.
everyone, for the participation in the session. And I shared a WhatsApp group link in the chat box. So could you please join that WhatsApp group link? And if you have any doubts, you can reach out to our expert in that WhatsApp group. And also, I shared a feedback link in that chat box. Please give us your valuable feedback with us to improve more and more. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you so much for the wonderful session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.